I'm Dr. Gloria. My PhD is in environmental and social sciences from Florida State University. I started social and environmental work in 1989 with the first onset of the AIDS epidemic in the California area. And then in 1993, after I left television news and joined academia, my first position was at Florida A&M University, where I learned firsthand the true difference between the impact of our environment on African Americans and disenfranchised communities firsthand. From there, I started my quest in environmental justice. Environmental justice is a term that was coined around the 1968-70s. And originally it was environmental racism. And what it describes is a community that is impacted disproportionately than any other community with toxins, whether it be coal mines, flooding, landfills, which is something I've been fighting here in the Escambia County for 6 years, to concrete crushing sites. It's their location and their proximity to African American communities and disenfranchised communities that don't have a political voice. Environmental justice, although you may look at it from the geographical area of where, certain environmental hazards are placed, it extends much further than that. When we have a hurricane, for example, the people impacted the most, again, are the disenfranchised communities. But it's after the hurricane that we're looking for housing, and the working poor have to go into these homes that are probably full of mold, they're not up to code, and then they become sick because that house itself is sick. And then it's hard to stay on a 40-hour, if you have even the option of working 40 hours, of working full-time, because you don't have access to health care. And that just adds to the issues that you and your family and your children are facing. And then when you look at homes like that are in Wedgwood and Olive Heights and Rolling Hills communities, the emphysema rate is astronomical compared to the rest of the county and to the state for that matter. Imagine 11 different types of landfills surrounding your home, and your homes were there first. You have hydrogen sulfide, which is very carcinogenic and not only impacts the lungs, it impacts your skin and your internal organs. We have a child, when I first started out there 6 years ago, 4 years old with COPD. That's not a lifestyle. That is something that is impacting him directly. And the reason this impact is so strong is that we have the regulations. The regulations are not being enforced by the county nor the state. And this is happening throughout Escambia County. Just not in Wedgwood, but in the Tan Yard community, a historical African American community. We're seeing it all the time, where regulations are ignored. And that's what we have to stay pinpointed on, that every vote, every taxpayer matters. It's just not the rich and the affluent and the politically astute. Many of y'all won't think that the landfills in Wedgwood are impacting you. Let me tell you, they are. We just received a report, and I say just received it, it's 2 years old, and we just received the toxic report from the runoff from one of the landfills out in Wedgwood. That runoff goes into Marcus Bayou, then it goes down into Crescent Lake, back into Marcus Bayou, and then into Perdido Key. And the toxins are so high in the metals right now, it's uncleanable. So you're swimming, boating, and fishing in the same polluted water that is starting at Wedgwood, and it's going right into Perdido Key. Another source, a huge source of pollutants that are hitting the beach. Just did the report yesterday Bayou Tahar. Bayou Tahar right now is unswimmable because of feces matter in it. And that feces is coming from somewhere, and we have to find out where. It's not from animals, it's not from cattle, it is human. And where is it coming from? And the only place I can think of is stormwater overflow, or sewer overflows called SSOs. And that's going into Bayou Tahar and then ultimately into the bay as well. So what you may not be at ground zero, but you're impacted. Wherever you are, it's going to follow you. Right here in the tan yard during Hurricane Gordon, we had 40,000 gallons of raw sewage. We went straight into Bruce Beach, and there wasn't a health alert. These are things, again, that our health department in Escambia County are not following up on and telling the people what's happening. You have a right to know what you're swimming in, what you're fishing, and what you're breathing for that matter. And we have the regulations. I'm not asking for more regulations. We just need to enforce the regulation, and we have to tell people when there's something wrong with our water, our air, and our soil. Another example, extreme example, is we have a concrete crushing site next to 5 public schools. Concrete by itself is fine, but when you crush it, it emanates a silica dust, which is horrible carcinogenic that goes into your lungs and literally over years will freeze your lungs and cause all kinds of breathing problems. It'll also impact your skin and your organs. 5 public schools out there, and they're crushing silica dust that it's blowing onto the fields of George Stone Technical School, West Florida High School, Pine Forest High School, and Longleaf Elementary. These are your children that are breathing this silica dust, that are playing in the soil of this silica dust, and is in the water. We're asking for the schools, their water fountains to be tested. We're asking that the soil be tested. And as of right now, it's falling on deaf ear. But we need you parents, to come out and fight for your children. There are several things a community can do. First of all, go to the Escambia County Commission meetings. Hold them responsible. The landfills, the water reports, that is up to the Escambia County Commission and their environmental team. That team has been horrible at enforcing regulations and staying on top of what is taking place in our landfills in Escambia County. And remember, those landfills impact you. With ECUA, our Emerald Coast Utility Authorities, demand higher testing standard. Right now, they only test at minimum EPA and minimum State Department of Environmental Protection standards. That does not include Chrome 6, the chemical that was made famous by Aaron Brockovich. The other thing that you can do is show up at meetings to show what you have seen in your community. How does your beach look? How does the community smell? What are you seeing in your drains? Are you flooding? Is high tide making your home impossible to live with? We have stormwater issues in Escambia County, second to none in the state. Remember, Escambia County is the #1 polluted air, water, soil county in the state. So please come to the table. If you want to join organizations, speak up. I am chair of the NAACP Pensacola Branch 5124. We are dying, literally, for people to come help our communities live and play and work in a safe environment. Please join us.